Hey everyone, it's Richard Middlefan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2019 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from As I Lay Dying entitled Shaped by Fire, which came out today through Nuclear Blast Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with As I Lay Dying, they're a metalcore band based out of San Diego, California, and these guys have been around since 2000 or 2001. And As I Lay Dying for me is like one of those first bands, like nostalgic bands for me, like back as when I was a teenager. And I pretty was a fan of them when I was like around 13, 14 years old. And these guys have been putting out their albums since their very first album in 2001 called Beneath the Encasing of Ashes, which I thought was a solid album, but in my opinion, I feel like it's their weakest. Not to say that it's terrible, but I feel like that with that after that they just gotten better. But with Beneath the Encasing of Ashes, it has like almost kind of reminds you of like another old school metalcore band called Zayo. They could definitely hear there's a lot of that influence on that album. And then we go into 2003 with the band's second album, Frail Words Collapse, which I feel like that's sort of like the start of like As I Lay Dying, sort of like them finding their sound a little bit. And it has some of their best songs on there, such as like Forever and 94 Hours. And like that double bass section in that song is just great. But I feel like they really solidified themselves with their 2005 album, Shadows Are Security, which I thought was a pretty good album. Has some of probably my favorite songs on there, like the darkest night, Through Struggle, and Confined. Definitely has like that little bit of a melodeath influence, which I believe like a lot of that Swedish melodeath pretty much influenced that metalcore around that time. And then 2007, An Ocean Between Us, which in my opinion is probably their best work to date. I just love that album. Then we go into 2010's The Powerless Rise, and that was another great album. And then their previous album, which came out in 2012, Awakened, which I thought was a pretty solid album. But things changed in May of 2013 when vocalist Tim Lambesis was arrested for solicitation of murder, which I first saw that and I was like, this can't be. And then, of course, in 2014, the band went on indefinite hiatus when he pled guilty, and I've just kind of like lost respect for him at that point, and they thought that band was just done while the other band members had like Woven Warp, which I thought was okay. I haven't really listened to much of their stuff. But then it was like teased around late in 2016 when Tim was supposedly out of jail after only serving like 2 or 3 years out of a 6-year sentence. And I didn't know what he was going to be up to, but it was like teased around near the end of 2017 of like new music, and then it was really rumored earlier last year that they were going to reform with the new members and stuff. And then it was like around June of last year, we were teased with some new stuff. Like, oh my God, they're back. And then they released their song My Own Grave, and I was like, wow, like I actually I actually don't hate it. When I first heard it, I was like, wow. And then apparently like Tim actually reached out to the other guys, and they, after a long while of just trying to like prove that he's changed and reaching out, they just got back together, and I was kind of shocked. I seriously never thought they would ever get back together. And then of course I saw them live back in April in Zydeco in Birmingham, Alabama, and I was like, damn, they're back. And then here we are with their new album, the band's 7th album, which comes out today. Does this album live up to what Awakened has, or even some of their previous stuff? In my honest opinion, I feel like it definitely has. And I feel like, kind of like Awakened, I feel like As I Lay Dying has gotten just a lot more heavier. It still has, like with this album, has that classic As I Lay Dying stuff to it, but you could definitely, they have like more of a punch and a heavier side, especially the production is pretty good. The one thing to know about this album is that Tim Lambesis' vocals, I feel like his vocals have just gotten more powerful, especially after like being after jail and stuff. It just sounds like he's just back with a vengeance, and just like his growls has just improved. I feel like it just matured a lot. And just the way it just it's executed just makes you just want to punch something, and he actually does like those invisible punches. Yeah, and then for the clean vocals from Josh Gilbert, their bass player. His clean vocals had really shined. I feel like they've improved since he joined the band. And on some songs such as like My Own Grave and Blinded and stuff, I feel like his vocals have just really shined, especially in the choruses, like when him and sort of like Tim Tim sort of like do this little trade-off between the harsh and cleans is just great. The guitar work on this album is great, really impressive. Phil Segracio and Nick Hippa's guitar playing is really stepped up on this, especially like just it's just tight as ever, and especially like the soloing, just like they do like a lot of like crazy stuff, kind of like different from previous As I Lay Dying albums, and it's just really impressive. The bass playing is I kind of wish was a little bit more audible. I mean, it was audible off on Awakened, but I feel like obviously I feel like Josh Gilbert can at least step up his game on a bit. And then drumming wise, Jordan Mancino. In my honest opinion, I feel like he's one of the most underrated drummers of all time and in metal. Period. Like just like the fills and just the insane double bass that he does on this album is just great. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting it off is Burn to Emerge, which is just a 52-second intro. And this is actually the first time As I Lay Dying has like an intro leading up into a song since probably An Ocean Between Us with Separation going into Nothing Left. But Burn to Emerge is a 52-second intro, less than a minute, which builds up the album with some guitars and drums and sort of like a voice chanting, "Will we ever change?" and stuff. And then hits you right in the face with the next song being Blinded. There was some very sick guitars and double bass drumming, and I just really love the chorus in the song. And pretty much Josh Gilbert has like the most, I feel like he's one of the best clean vocalists in metalcore. And then the song also showcases like Phil and Nick showing off some really like tappy stuff, which is just really just blows my mind. I feel like they just improved a lot. It's just probably one of my favorite songs on the album. Then we go into Shaped by Fire, the title track, which just kicks right in. Just some insane guitar work and drumming, and I love how Tim and Josh sort of like got some great vocals in here, and I love the guitar solo from Nick. Nick is just really great. And then going into the next song on the album, which is called Undertow, which is continuing that the band sort of like proves that they're a vital force of metal mayhem as they present the song. It's just a current of just self-destructive eaves throughout the track and deeply personal admission that sometimes have to crash and collapse before you can find like control and freedom. I feel like it's just like the message of the song. Torn Between, another good song. I actually like it. Gatekeeper, which I feel like it's just the most brutal song ever. I feel like they just go like a lot like thrash and death metal almost with this song. It's just a blistering track. Then we go into The Wreckage, which I feel like lyrically the song talks about like collective struggles to endure with the skies turn gray. It's just a good song. And then we go into My Own Grave, which is actually the first single that that was released from this album almost a year ago. And of course, I did like a track review of this at the time. And this song itself sounds very almost anthemic, and it sort of like reflects about what happened, what Tim and sort of like what he had been through, and it's sort of like him like reaching out to the other guys and hope that they forgive him and stuff, and of course they have, and they're back with a vengeance. I love how it's sort of like beginnings with like a fade soothing acoustic lead with Tim screams and then just bursts right in the front of you. It's just a deeper, gruffier, I feel like if more pronounced, and just like the delivery of Tim's vocals are just absolutely phenomenal on this track. Heck, and I love like Jordan Mancino's performance here is very much like a continuation of what he did on Awakened with exquisite fills and some great drum rolls and a military risk like pacing that sounds a lot like a soldier march at some parts. And then Nick and Phil delivered a duality that is mastered so fluently that they did on like the Power's Rise or something thing on here. A really great song, I love it. Take What's Left, which sort of like leans into almost kind of like the melodeath influence of the band, like sort of like of course Old In Flames and Dark Tranquillity and stuff. Then next song on the album is called Redefined, and this is, I believe, the first time that As I Lay Dying actually has a guest appearance on an album, which features guest vocals from Jake Lures of August Burns Red. And from a composition point of view, there are riffs that just pull no punches. In the verse, is outside of like tasty melodeath riffs swirled with like a generous helping of like contemporary breakdown and to build up with like so much momentum as possible before the thing just explodes into a massive defined chorus that layers like clean and screamed vocals. Another one of my favorite songs here. Only After We Fallen, which is probably one of the album's strongest moments, creating like an unparalleled energy. There was some really sick like guitar work, just like good tremolo picking and and sort of like Tim trading lines with Josh, sort of like showcasing like their vocals on this. And then the album closes with The Toll It Takes, which sort of like last beats sort of like coexist with some soaring melodic choruses to tackle the topic of lyrically of like self-imposed sentence. One does like cleaves into a man of two as he tries to face the fact that he cannot fix the past and there is only the future. Sure, which I feel like this is pretty much what Tim was going through, especially after the shit he had done. So yeah, so overall, Shaped by Fire by As I Lay Dying is a good comeback album after not being releasing anything since 2012. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, damn, this is really great. Right, one of the best metal albums I've heard this year. So if I had to give this album a score, I'm going to give this probably a solid 8.5 out of 10, probably a 9. So yeah, that's my review of the new As I Lay Dying album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.